A lot of talk about drafting a certain running back, drafting a certain tight end, and our awesome producer, Steven, did a little bit of digging on the history of drafting a tight end. If the Bears were to go down the road of drafting Tyler Warren in the first round, what are the chances that it would actually work out? Steven, I'm going to toss this over to you because you got a lot of numbers, you got a lot of results here on your research and what this may mean for whatever team ends up drafting Tyler Warren.
Yeah, so in the last 24 drafts, so since 2000, 24 tight ends have been drafted in the first round, and I have the list here. And I kind of took a look at these guys to try to figure out, how many of these guys were an actual hit in the first round for, where they were picked, the value they got back in return, whether or not they had a second contract with that team. And what I've come up with here is the results of this. In green is the guys that I consider to be a hit. I'm a little early on Brock Bowers, but I think after 1 year, we'll all agree he's a hit.
Yeah, I think that one worked.
Yeah.
How cool is that color coordination? Wow. Yeah, keep going.
So
it's amazing.
8 of these guys were considered hits. Those are the guys in green here. And then I have 3 listed in blue. Those are the guys that, the jury's still kind of out on. I haven't really made up my mind, and they could be hits. They could be misses, but we'll see. So what we come up with here is 11 out of the 24 tight ends drafted in the first round have been a hit or something close to it. So just under a 50% hit rate. And this whole conversation comes up because there's projected to be 2 tight ends here in the first round this draft, in Tyler Warren and then Colston Loveland as well. So should the Bears consider drafting a tight end when you have a less than 50% hit rate? Now, I'll kind of toss it to you guys, and based on that, what do you think?
Yeah, and I think there's kind of some quibbling you can do. There, like, Mercedes Lewis has been playing a pretty damn long time, but I think what Steven's getting at there is, guys that were slam dunks as first round picks. Because if you're going to draft a guy number 10 overall, you better be getting an all pro tight end out of it. You better be getting the guys that are more like a Travis Kelce,
George Kittle.
Yeah, the guys that are really creating mismatch problems in the passing game all the time, helping your quarterback move the ball downfield, not just blocking. So some of those guys on that list, I would even quibble with a little bit. They've had some success here and there. Mercedes Lewis, for example, has done. He used to be more receiving side end. He's really changed his game and kind of elongated his career by almost becoming an extension of the offensive line now as a tackle. But try to keep this in perspective. If you're drafting Tyler Warren, you're taking a swing at getting Travis Kelce. That's what you're trying to do. And when you see that hit rate, even with some of the guys Steven had highlighted, can we see that again? Just as guys are actually even considered.
Middle of the road players, Steven's not giving a whole lot of credit to, but that's fine. This is a tough list.
Well, who would you want to include in that?
Well, no, I don't even want to. That's my point. I don't even want to get in the weeds of who. I want to keep this on who's worth the top 10 pick. So let's say TJ Hawkinson. Would you be happy if you had drafted him number 10 overall? Because they traded him to Minnesota.
Right. But if he hadn't, they did, but they also traded him because they upgraded the position, and he also got hurt. You tell me if I had TJ Hawkinson right now on my team and we drafted first, I'd be fine with it.
Okay.
Sam Laporta.
I'd be really fine with it.
Second round pick for him.
Yeah.
Well, because remember when the Bears drafted Cole Kmet, I believe he was the first tight end off the board that year, right?
What?
Is
that right?
I believe it was in the second round, yeah.
It was in the second round, but he was, I believe, maybe the chat can help me out here, but I believe he was the first tight end taken in that draft. And so I think that's kind of the overall point is you got to find your, I think, tight end a little further down the road.
Well, and that's the thing, Kelce. So if we're trying to find Kelce, well, he was a third round pick.
George Kittle,
5th round pick. I believe the Bears also could have drafted him. Who was it that they drafted instead? I remember.
They draft all these dudes that are from Chicago and grew up a Bears fan, but they don't draft George Kittle, who literally says "da Bears" as he comes off the podium as he's playing for the 49ers.
I think he's doing that just to troll you, though, specifically.
That's fine. I love George. He's welcome on our team anytime.
Well, Here, let me flip it just a slightly different way. Last year in the draft, everyone was saying that Brock Bowers is going to be a great player. And Brock Bowers came in last year and caught 112 balls for 1,200 yards on a Raiders team that stunk with mediocre quarterback play.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that you think that Tyler Warren is of that ilk, 90% of it, 85%, and the Bears pick him at number 10, that to me is not a good pick, but a great pick.
I think that's a good point. I think that's a good rebuttal.
But I don't think he is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is more of like a wide receiver that's a tight end, and Tyler Warren to me is more of a tight end that's a tight end.
I don't know, man. He makes a lot of plays all over the field.
I know what you mean, though.
Right. To put it as simply as I can, like he's not Brock Bowers. He's very good. He is a mismatch. He's huge and fast.
Well, I would actually argue that Warren is more versatile.
Yeah. Well,
you don't want to say yeah to that. That'd be bad for your argument.
Well, I mean, you've seen him line up in the backfield. I wouldn't say yes, because you can line Brock Bowers up as a wide receiver. I don't think you're doing that with Tyler Warren.
Oh yeah, listen. I need to do more work on my Tyler Warren, but as we famously,
were the first person to bring him up like a month and a half ago.
Yeah,
what have you
right,
been doing?
Right. I watched 8 minutes of him on YouTube, and I was like, "This guy's freaking awesome." And so now you're telling me that you don't think. I mean, now I got to do route trees versus Brock Bowers to feel like if I can really accurately argue with you that he's not Brock Bowers. I don't know. The dude looks pretty damn good. I think he's going to be really good in the NFL. And I also think the Bears have a lot of freaking needs still.
Would you be surprised if I told you that Tyler Warren's actually taller than Brock Bowers?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Tyler Warren is huge.
Yeah.
He's
well,
huge.
he was a high school quarterback. Tyler Warren.
They use Warren. They used him to get him on the field earlier in his career. They would put him in the Wildcat, and he would play quarterback and take the ball to the end zone. So he's got some creativity with ball in hands. Look, I mean, Biggs time. Shout out Brad Biggs. He had him mocked to number 7 overall with the Jets. He might not even be there when the Bears are there if you listen to Biggs time.
Well, and that's the other thing too. When you look at that list of tight ends taken in the first round since 2000, the game has changed a lot, and the tight end position has changed a lot, throughout the years. And so when you look at what Brock Bowers has done, when you look at what Travis Kelce's doing, and obviously just what the league is offensively. That's why you're starting to see, and that's why Atlanta took a chance on Kyle Pitts, hoping that he was going to be, like a wide receiver type tight end, and it hasn't worked out.
I think the thing about Warren though that I like is I actually think he's a safer pick than some of these other guys, like a Kyle Pitts coming out, like that are just like these freaky athletic, like what you're shooting for, like what you're talking about. Warren's just a football player, man. Like he could do everything. Like I feel very confident that whoever drafts Tyler Warren will be able to put him in the offense week 1, and he's going to help you. He's going to help you do something. Like I just think the floor is incredibly high there. I mean, if I remember right, because I have a really bad habit of immediately forgetting all the draft information I retain for a full year. It's like the summer comes and I just like want to forget it all. But Bowers had injury problems, right? At Georgia?
I think he did, prior to the draft, yeah.
So, my point is, like, I feel like even last year with Bowers, as much as I loved him, and I did, like, I remember watching him a lot at Georgia. Like, I feel like there was a little bit more.
His last year he only played 10 games. He had 15 in both his.
It felt a little riskier, to be honest. Like, a little bit more boom or bust on Bowers. Obviously, he's booming. And he might be the best tight end. He's already in the argument for best tight end right now. Probably not quite there, but will be based on what we saw last year.
Well, one thing that when I was doing this research for this that came to mind was, the Bears really didn't QB sneak a single time last year. And Tyler Warren took a lot of snaps under center with Penn State. He's a bigger body.
You also do it out of the shotgun.
Yeah, they did a lot of different things with him that honestly the Bears were lacking. Outside of a nice pass to Roma Dunze on 4th down last year, the Bears were not a good 4th down offense. And he adds an entirely different element that could really help them out in those short yardage situations that they did not have last season.
You didn't like the Doug Kramer package?
I did not like the Doug Kramer package, no.
Okay.
He's back, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of that.
He is back. He is back. So I think our 4th down short yardage package is covered with Doug Kramer. And then you had Ryan Poles at the Michigan Pro Day. And I know everybody's talking about Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. They got a tight end there, too, that I think –
Olsen Loveland.
Right, that might be in consideration.
See, I would put him more in the Cole Kmet conversation, like type of tight end.
Well, speaking of Cole Kmet, Hogue, as the host of the 85, and we can't lose Cole Kmet like we just lost the trombone. But how do you think
– It's for the best.
It's not. How do you think Cole and Tyler would work together? Because, this has got to be a combo situation.
Well, I think they definitely can. But what I find interesting about that question is, so if you're going to go off solely what we've seen with Ben Johnson and the Lions, it would seem unnecessary to need to draft Tyler Warren. We talked about this a lot after the hire. Like, instead of what the Bears have done the last couple of years, which is try to have Cole Kmet more in a traditional Y, and then bring in another move tight end, which they failed to do the last 2 years. They tried Robert Tonyan 2 years ago. They tried Gerald Everett last year. Didn't really work out. Based on what we saw from the Lions offense, Cole actually seems like a really good fit, like the Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson role. And then you bring in another tight end to kind of, just fill in and be more of the primary blocker.
Which they've already done. In Durham Smythe.
So it all makes a lot of sense. Now, that's going off the Lions. If you're going to go off of everything Ben Johnson has preached since he became the Bears head coach, I'm going to work with the personnel I have. This is not going to be the same offense. I think my instinct tells me that Ben Johnson is not going to limit or pigeonhole him, his quarterback, or his players into any type of specific offense. So if you're telling me that there is this dynamic option available, I don't think that it's just like, oh, he's going to pass on that guy. Because I actually look at it the opposite. When I see Tyler Warren, I'm like, man, Ben Johnson's got to be thinking about the 50 different ways he could use this guy.
We all silly like the mayor.